Everton breezed through the third round of the Carabao Cup last night with a 3-0 win over League Two opposition Salford, making it 2 wins from 2 to kickstart the season. Joining me for this one is Rob Astell, who you may have heard on the Liverpool Echo's View from the Gladys. I think, similar to myself, Rob holds the club to high standards, and I think it's always good to get someone on and chat with someone who you feel shares similar expectations. So, how's it going, Rob? You all right?
Yeah, good, mate. Thanks for having me. How are you?
Very good. Thanks for coming on. Firstly, before we analyse the game itself, when we spoke the other day, Rob, we'd said, I feel alongside many other Evertonians, that we didn't want to see a complete overhaul of changes from the team that beat Spurs. Carlo, of course, showed us that we know absolutely nothing about football, making 10 changes altogether. Did you have any initial jitters or concerns when you first saw that starting 11?
I think you wouldn't be an Everton fan if you didn't have them kind of jitters. It's just what you're used to. I think over the years we've put out these teams where it looks like a bit of a mishmash of players just to get them either in the shop window or to get them fit to rest your bigger boys. So yeah, the blue in me was apprehensive about seeing so many changes in that lineup. I mean, I certainly didn't. I expected maybe 3 or 4, but I didn't expect all. I didn't expect 10. But fair play. Like you said, what do we know?
Exactly. And I mean, the game itself adopted a rather one-sided feel early on, with big Michael Keane nodding in Sigurdsson's corner. From there, Salford never really mounted any serious challenge to debutant João Virginia in goal. The other 2 goals, one from Sigurdsson himself, scoring his 100th goal in English football, and Moise Keane, after a relatively frustrating evening, I felt, scored from the penalty spot. A few stats that I'm sure you'll be happy to hear, Rob. Everton recorded 32 shots, the most in a game since February 2016. Of course, as we know, 5 of those hit the bloody crossbar or the post. Anthony Gordon had 8 of those, the most by any Everton player since April 2017. What was your verdict on the performance as a whole, and how unlucky was Anthony Gordon not to score there?
I mean, the lad did Everton. I mean, sticking on Gordon, the lad did Everton but score, really, didn't he? I thought he was outstanding last night. He seems to have really flourished under Carlo Ancelotti, and long may his development continue. But the game itself, I felt we were in control from the off, really. I'd say Salford had one chance where they probably should have done a lot better, and that's when I think their player knocked it back on the edge of the 6-yard box and he blazed it over. But otherwise, mate, we were in control, weren't we? We were, there was no real threat. As a football fan, you kind of, the longer the game stays at 1-0, and especially because it goes straight to penalties now as well, the more nervous you get. But I just didn't really feel that threatened by them last night. It was just, we were just in control. And I think once we got that first goal, my mind was at ease. Given it was a mishmash of players, I just felt completely at ease with watching them play. And what I did notice was, and I don't know whether you really noticed, the formation was very, very similar to Sunday's.
Yeah.
So it's obviously being drilled into them now that this is what we're going to play. This is how we're playing. So if you need to play well in this formation to be considered for future games and things. So they all seem to know their roles. But yeah, it was just a straightforward, comfortable cup tie against lower league opposition, really, wasn't
it?
Yeah. Your name's in the next round, and there's no complaints, really.
Yeah, that's the main thing, isn't it? And dare I say it almost become a bit boring at times last night, watching it. Of course, comfortable, you know what I mean? But you're just it was boring at parts. But I mean, you touched on him at first there, and I think it's only right that we do highlight him, because there was a host of contenders for man of the match, but Anthony Gordon most definitely was one of those, with just how good he was down that left-hand side. What do you think the limits are to his potential? And do you think, obviously pending all things going well, do you think he could go on to be a real star at the club?
I don't like hyping kids up. He's only, what is he, 18, 19? He's no, we only have to look at what's happened to Tom Davies in that respect. But he's showing what I think he's showing. He's showing where he is effective on the pitch, and that is on that left-hand side, cutting inside and cutting in.
Yeah.
That's where he seems to be at his most threatening. I saw a really interesting take on it on Twitter this morning about Anthony Gordon. It said it reminds him of a young Coutinho cutting in off the left. And I wouldn't disagree with that too much. He's got a wicked shot on him. And he can pick a pass out. And under Carlo Ancelotti, he's obviously got a lot of faith in him.
Yeah.
Because he keeps playing him in games, and in big games as well. So there's no real limit to his potential. It's all down to him. It's all down to him to keep on proving himself. And I think, fingers crossed, things don't get bad, because losing Carlo Ancelotti would be devastating. But I think what Anthony Gordon will benefit from is having a manager there long term, rather than what some youth players have been used to having, which is, I think Tom Davies is on his 5th manager so far. And I think to aid his development, Carlo Ancelotti needs to pinpoint, right, I think this is your best position. Do you agree with me? I'm going to play you here. We're going to make sure that this is your position moving forward. So there's no real limit to him. His limits are probably going to be all in his head, and he's got to get over them. So, long may his development continue, mate.
Yeah, that's a really good point on a manager. I feel like consistency in that sense is only going to, help that development speed up, if that's the right term, really. Another standout performer who shared the left-hand flank with Anthony Gordon was Niels Nkunku. Now, after the game, my mate sent me a really poorly Photoshop of Gordon and Nkunku edited onto Baines and Pienaar's bodies. And, I mean, they were a joy at times to watch last night, weren't they, down that left-hand side? Like, the football that we were coming up with, the speed and the physicality of them was great. So I was just going to say, what were your thoughts on him?
Again, similar to Anthony Gordon. I watched the was it the Blackpool game where he came on in a friendly. I watched him then a little bit, and he thought he looked sharp, and I think he played some of the the Preston friendly as well. Again, I thought, we've obviously got this lad in now. We've obviously lost Leighton Baines, which is, for me, is a massive travesty still. I wish he was there for one more year, but we haven't, so we've got to move on. But the one thing that Everton Football Club seems to be good at, no matter how bad they are, is signing left backs. But again, it's down to his development, isn't it? It's let's hope he keeps on getting games. I've got no issues in starting him next week against Fleetwood. Got no issues there. And you mentioned there about the potential link up. You only have to look at the second goal. It was Nkunku wins the ball just outside the edge of the box. Gordon waits his run absolutely perfectly. He knows he's running the risk of being offside, and he puts it on a plate for Gylfi, and it's in the back of the net. So again, it's promising signs. That there's a future there. It's not just what's there now. We've got players who can come in and take their chances when it's given to them.
Mm-hmm. Definitely, certainly, exciting prospects, and we'll all keep an eye on them, I'm sure. One of the main takeaways for me last night were the improved performances of the likes of Bernard, Sigurdsson and Davies. I don't know whether it was because of the drop-off in quality of opposition or what, but they seem to have more time on the ball and more space to be able to turn, pick their heads up and play it forward. The final ball to Keane, who, as you said, with the formation, was the lone man up front. The quality wasn't always there, but, the intent was there. They always look to try and play him in or play through one of the lads running down on the wing. I know, obviously, that's where when I saw the 11, that's where my concern sort of come from. When you see Sigurdsson and Davies in the midfield, this is no slight on them, but it just initially brings me back to like the 2017-18 season, where we're just very disjointed and have no real sense of identity. But what did you make on the mishmash players? What did you make on their performances? And do you think any of them put in a performance that warranted dislodging any of the current midfield out of the positions?
On the last point, no. I think our starting 11 on Saturday is what started on Sunday against Spurs. I think I wouldn't start any of that midfield on. I thought Sigurdsson did all right. Sigurdsson got man of the match on Sky, didn't he? Which I found quite strange, given how well Gordon and Cuckoo did. But Sigurdsson did all right. Bernard, I love Bernard, and I want him to. I like watching him play, and I like watching him when he's in the middle of the park, like he was a little bit last night, and that's where I think you get the best out of him. He did all right. The two players who I'd probably say didn't really do themselves any favours, and we may disagree here, but one of them was Theo Walcott, and I thought the other one was, I hate to say it, but I just felt Tom Davies' game last night wasn't bad, but it was too safe. That was the perfect opportunity for me, for him to say, I'm here, Gaffer, I want to play, so I'm going to play out my skin. I just felt his game was a little bit too safe last night. So I wouldn't say he really did themselves any favours, but at least there's competition for places. You know what I mean? I've got no issues in what Carlo did on Sunday when he brought Gylfi Sigurdsson on. I've got no issues in that, because he's playing him in the right position now. He's not playing him as a central midfielder. He's playing him a little bit further forward and giving him that free rein, which he had last night. Same with Bernard as well. You know, you can either put Bernard as the left forward, or you can put him in the middle of the park. Put him in the middle of the park. But yeah, some of them did all right, you know, but I wouldn't say they set the world on fire, basically. That's fair. And I just feel with Tom Davies and Theo Walcott, that was their real time to shine. I mean, I noticed Walcott a couple of times. He beat the man, but then his final ball was as per. He's done the hard work, and then his final ball is shocking. But again, it's just nice to see that we've got some competition in there still. What silly part about it is, one of my mates mentioned to me last night watching, he went, if you take out all the new signings, that team is probably close enough to our first team that starts last year. So it just shows how much three players can change things.
Yeah, exactly. And just on the topic of the squad, I think it'd be interesting to talk about some of the absences, really. I mean, some of the big names that you would have thought made that squad, the likes of Mo Besic, Yannick Bolasie, and of course Alex Iwobi. Like, Carlo obviously sees these lads in training day in, day out, and you know, but to not be making the squad for a second round League Cup tie, do you think that's the final nail in the coffin for them to having to move on?
Yeah, I think Yannick Bolasie's Everton career, as much as he's mouthy on Twitter now, I think has been over for the best part of 18 months, really. I think it's time for him to move on if the right offer comes in for him. Sandro, he's another one, mate. You know what I mean? He's not going to... There's other players there in contention who you'd rather have. I think so. Yeah, to do it. I think Iwobi was injured, wasn't he? There's
was the confirmation of that?
No official confirmation, but if some people on Twitter have suggested there was a slight injury, but you know, but if he wasn't, that again, I think that's quite telling. I mean, anyone of that ilk, your Besiges, your Bolasies and Sandros, to be honest with you, mate, I don't want them anywhere near the club, if I'm being honest. I know that sounds harsh, and I know that sounds, but we're finished with them now. They're not. I don't class them as part of the team.
I
understand. As harsh as that sounds, really, really harsh. But I feel like what we've got now, the 25-man squad, let's say that we've got, where we've got the starting 11 who started on Sunday and some of the boys who started yesterday. I feel like they seem like quite tight knit, and I feel like the others are just a bit. I don't really know how to describe them. They're Everton players, obviously, but they're not. They're just not part of this team for me.
Yeah.
Do you know? And they haven't been for a while, and I don't really class them as Everton players. And the sooner we get them off the wage bill, the better. Really.
Yeah, I know a lot of people will share that sentiment, really. And just on that point, we're on a new page now, aren't we, really?
Yeah, that's it. Yeah.
That's how I'd describe it. And those players are just a culmination of the bit part recruitment of years past. And I mean, interestingly, I think we're in a situation now. You talk about, the 25-man squad as a whole. Like, do you think we're in a situation now where we'll have an 11 exclusive for league games, and 11 exclusive for, say, early round cup ties?
Well, to be honest with you, mate, I'd agree with that, because I didn't realise that the third round is next week until they mentioned it on Sky. I thought it was another few weeks away. So at the end of the day, so we play at 12:30 on Saturday, and then we play again the following Wednesday. You're going to need to rest, to rest them again. At the end of the day, this is still really, really early in the season. Fitness and sharpness is probably not 100%, and that's just not Everton. That's every club within the English league. That's just that'll be a widespread problem for at least a month. So yeah, it wouldn't surprise me if he goes with that exact same team as he did. But maybe as the later rounds come in, and if we get that far, that's when you might see, if we're playing Premier League opposition, you might see the likes of Alan coming in and sitting in midfield just to make sure that we get through. I half expected Alan to come off the bench last night, after we got the second goal, just to keep things. Just before we got the second goal, because it was at 1-0 and we'd had chance after chance after chance, and it didn't seem to be happening. I thought we'll probably bring on a midfielder here just to marshal it up, see it out. But yeah, it could quite well be the case, mate, where we've got the starting 11 for the league and the starting 11 for any lower league cup games like that.
Yeah, I would say so. And I mean, we've got to mention it. Unfortunately, there was that injury for Jared Branthwaite as well, and there's we're a bit thin on the ground in terms of centre back options with the injury to Mason Holgate as well, who I think is going to be a big miss for the team as a whole. And hopefully we can get some reinforcement, maybe a loan in that department before the window closes. But to end on a happier note, it doesn't half feel good to have some optimism about supporting the club again, doesn't it?
It's strange, isn't it? It's weird. You don't want to get ahead of yourself. And that's the thing. I was saying this last night. We were fantastic on Sunday, man for man. We were absolutely excellent, and last night there was a lot of positives as well. It's 2 wins, 2 clean sheets as well. Don't forget, and we're going into West Brom now, and if we go out there and beat West Brom, momentum and confidence continues. So you've got one of the best managers in the world in the dugout as well, and you've got players there as well now who look like they want to be here. So it is. It's a massive confidence thing, and I don't like feeling like this. It's a bit weird. Is this it? I'm always expecting to be like tripped up, or to see something go wrong. Just you mentioned Jared Branthwaite there. I mean, really tough on the lad coming off. Hopefully, it's not too serious. But a quick mention for Luca Dean slotting in at centre half as well. It was absolutely seamless. He was absolutely fantastic, I thought. He's not the biggest of lads, but his experience made sure that he had a quiet night. But back onto your point, yeah, it's nice to have a bit of optimism, and I'm really looking forward to playing on Saturday again. Yeah. And West Brom will be a tough game. It'll be a very tough game. We've still got a lot to prove, but hopefully we've got too much in the bag for them to handle.
Yeah, you'd like to think so. That would be, I feel like that would legitimise the confidence if we could get a win against them there. And I mean, seems like a bit of a silly question to end, but do you trust Ancelotti to keep this balance between cup and league football? Because as you said, obviously we've got Fleetwood. I think when is that? It's the Wednesday,
isn't it? Wednesday, yeah.
Wednesday, the 23rd. So do you think he'll find a happy balance between cup and league football?
I think he will, but I also think he's got to as well. For the time being, he needs players fit. He needs players sharp, and the only way he's going to do that at the moment is if he's got 2 games a week and he can play that. He can give these lads a chance and keep them sharp. There's no point. I mean, I know we were saying we didn't really want that many changes, but in hindsight now, these players do need to get your Bernards, your Sigurdssons, your Moise Keanes. You want to be able to bring them off the bench to make an impact in the league games for the time being, or if they're called upon, that they're ready to go rather than being only half fit. So, but yeah, I do. I trust them. I trust Ancelotti with, there was a lot of and ahhing of signing players who were 28, 29 in the summer and things, and I just think he's a 3-time Champions League winner. He's won a lot. He's done it all. I'm not questioning anything that he says, anything, until it starts going. Until you've got to. So yeah, I think let's go out there now and let's do the business against West Brom, and, as like you said, legitimise the confidence. Because then after that, I think there's 3 games. Then there's Fleetwood, Palace, and I think Brighton. And you can only look forward to your next game. And if you keep winning, it sets a standard, and it breeds confidence throughout the team, and it builds momentum. And psychologically, it's massive as well.
Yeah.
So bring it on, and I do. I trust Ancelotti to do the right thing in terms of his team selections.
I think that's the right message to sign off on. Bring it on, and I feel like that's something that the club are sort of embodying at the minute with the confidence that we are showing. Rob, I just want to say it's been a pleasure to catch up with you and to chat with you again. And to the watchers and the listeners, hope you enjoyed it, and make sure to subscribe to GrandOldTeam across all their platforms. Take care.